Hi, my name is Richie Call, and I am the head of the Department of Theater Arts. As the head of the Department of Theater Arts, I also serve as the artistic director of the Lyric Repertory Company. The Caine Lyric Theatre opened in 1913 for the first time as a theater. The building existed before then. In the 1950s, the university took it over from the Thatcher sisters, and it became the primary performance space for the Department of Theater Arts. At the time, we didn't have the Fine Arts Center. The Fine Arts Center on campus wasn't built until 1967. So through the 50s and the 60s, this was where the bulk of the shows were performed. In 1967, as they were getting ready for the Fine Arts Center to open, my grandpa was really worried that this building would fall into disuse. He thought, wouldn't it be a shame if nothing was happening at this beautiful theater? And he said, why don't we use this as an opportunity to create a professional theater company that will help to bridge the gap between educational theater and professional theater. So in 1967, they performed their first season. He got funding from a kind of unlikely place. The housing office called him in and they said, we hear you've got this new idea. We'd like to contribute $3,000 towards your first season. They made enough money that summer to produce the next season, and so on and so forth. So here we are 60 years later doing pretty much exactly what my grandpa set out to do in 1967. That's my grandpa, Vasco Call, and my grandma, Ruth Call. My grandpa founded the company, and my grandma was a frequent actor of the company as well. Nobody's seen this yet. So this used to be what we called our West Gallery, and we've always been able to say that we support students and faculty and staff from the theater department and from the music department. But this will now open as the USU Ready-Made Gallery, so this will serve our art and design department. We're really excited about that. This will feature work by students and faculty in the art and design program. So this is the interior of the Caine Lyric Theatre. This, we assume, looks very much like it would have looked like in 1913 when it opened as a theater. In the 1950s, when they did the renovation for the university to acquire it, it looked quite a bit different than this. Everywhere you see in the building that is maroon or pink was like Pepto-Bismol pink. And everywhere you see this faux marble up on the sides, that was like crushed velvet pink. And the outside of the building was all pink as well. In fact, on the day that it opened for the university, Constance Thatcher, who was one of the Thatcher sisters who owned the building when they turned it over to the university, she was being interviewed and they said, Constance, what do you think of this renovation? And she said, it looks like a Parisian whorehouse. And they quickly took the microphone away from her. One of the stories that I love about this space is if you look up here at the balcony and you see these lions' heads and all the plaster work that's up there. When my grandpa came back from the University of Washington and they were going to convert this into a theater for the university, these had fallen off and they had just decided they weren't going to redo this plaster work because it was too difficult. It's a craft that it's expensive and not a lot of people know how to do it. While they were working on the renovation, a gentleman walked into the building and said, what are you going to do to replace the plaster lions? And they said, we're not going to do that. And he said, well, my grandfather did the original and he taught me how to do it. I'd love to redo this for you. And so he did, and he didn't charge anything. A frequent question that people ask is, what are these shields on either side of the proscenium arch? And these are the family crests of the Thatcher family. There's an interesting story about this one up here. This is the Austrian crest, though during World War II, because of anti-German sentiment, people thought it was the German crest because it looks a lot like the German crest. And if you look really closely down at the feet of the eagle, you can see that there's been some damage there because somebody came to a movie that was playing here with a hatchet and hacked at it. We've repaired it as best we can, and now that sits here. So one of the interesting things about this renovation is that if you've come to the theater before, you don't really see anything new. We've just done this huge renovation, but for people in the house, it's nothing's really new. All of the renovation was behind the proscenium. But what I think is fascinating is that just 4.5 months ago, well, I guess 6 months ago now, everything behind this proscenium arch was a hole in the ground. So walking through the space, it's a little bit crazy to think this was just open air just 6 months ago. So what we had to do was remove the wall. There used to be a wall that was real close to me here, this side wall here, and the back wall, and replace that with a structure that could hold not just the weight of a roof, but shortly after 2001's renovation, we lost the ability to use our fly system because the entire fly system was supported by those walls that were no longer strong enough. So this whole thing up here, all the space that you see up above me, this is our fly loft. And for the first time since 2001, we're finally able to use this full fly system. This is the backstage left. All of this is new, everything up here. HVAC has been rerouted. This is where we'll store a lot of our equipment and things between shows. During the school year, we typically just do one show at a time, so it operates like any normal theater. But during the summer, we're doing at least 3 shows here at the same time, so we have to have what's called changeovers. So we take down one set, put up the next set. We used to have to store everything backstage left in this area. Now we have the advantage of being able to store things up in the fly system. So we come downstairs to our green room area, and this is, in addition to the fly system, I think one of the most exciting aspects of this renovation. On the other side of this wall is a hallway that goes to our old dressing rooms, and between that hallway and here, this used to be unexcavated, and it was where they routed a bunch of HVAC. But as part of this renovation, we asked if this was a place that we could potentially use. This is enormous. So we finally, for the very first time, have an orchestra pit here in the building. These are acoustic panels that are placed in there so the audience can't hear what's happening here, or we can take them out and we can just pump live sound out into there. So this is the old men's dressing room. Not a dressing room for old men, the dressing room where the men used to dress. And you can see it's kind of crazy. Anybody who's too tall, and I'm not that tall myself, would hit their head on this because we're directly beneath the seats in the theater. This is kind of a fascinating project that we're working on here. When we did the renovation, this was found inside one of the walls, but if you look at the wording here, it's pretty amazing. Hotter than ecstasy, the daring picture of the sex-crazed Borgias. So this was obviously a pretty scandalous show that toured through Logan, Utah in the 1900s, early 1900s. So now we're walking to the old women's dressing room. These 2 dressing rooms that we've just seen, this is where everybody used to prepare for the shows. Now we use these old dressing rooms primarily for storage of the shows that aren't up on stage. You can see this is a lot better than those old dressing rooms. For one, you can stand tall, and it's a lot more well lit. This is our call board here, so when we're doing shows here, this is where we put up all the information that actors need to get. This is where our actors sign in when they arrive so that stage management knows that they're here. In this new part of the building, we have restrooms downstairs, real restrooms, those new dressing rooms, and this little bit of stage right. You saw the paintings of my grandpa Vasco and my grandma out there. This is a painting of Sid Perks. Sid was the artistic director and department head after my grandpa retired, and he was largely responsible for the renovation in 2000 and 2001. And then after Sid, Colin Johnson took over as the artistic director and head of the Department of Theater Arts.